all started with a few pieces of wood, pieces that each had their own story. Perhaps they had once been part of a magnificent tree. Perhaps they had been exposed to the element for years. Perhaps even signs of their long life remained on their surface. But now these slabs were alone and apart. Each one was beautiful on its own, but when they were put together, they lacked something, a bond, a unity. As I looked at them, I knew I was going to make something more than just a simple board. These pieces of wood weren't going to stay separate, they were going to become one and become a solid, lasting piece of meat. But to do that, I need something to bind these pieces together forever. Resin. Resin is not just a glue, it's the magic that blurs the boundaries between pieces of wood. It's what transforms this board from a few separate pieces into a work of art. See how the resin flows through these cracks. Each drop seems to connect the past of these pieces to their future. Now this board of meat is ready for a new life. Now those pieces of wood are no longer separate. Now they are a unified and powerful entity. It is going to be heard by the sound of kitchen knives. It is going to be in a house where every day a new story happens in its kitchen. From fresh vegetables for breakfast to delicious steaks for a happy party. And this is not the story of a simple plank. This is the story of a union, a bond that transforms separate pieces of wood into a lasting work. If you were to bond something together with resin, what would you choose? We poured the resin onto the wood slabs in 2 or 3 stages. First, we pour resin onto the slabs to a depth of 1.5 centimeters, and then we let it cook. And this is because the released heat can be easily removed. After the resin has set and reached a sticky state, we can pour the next 1.5 to 2 centimeters. And I did this step by step until my resin casting was finished. Thank you for watching my video.